Now I will show you how the matrix combo kit from Black & Decker work. This is a jigsaw that will cut wood and metal, oscillating tools, a router, an impact driver, which has a difficult test, a mouse detail sander, and we will also test the pump and trim saw that I bought separately. In this review, each of the attachments will work until something happens, until it melts, the drive does not burn out, or the battery will run down. I will not talk about the working time of each of the attachment, but it will be correct if we see how much each of the attachments can do this or that job. And also in a discussion on the topic, for what can this set come in handy, and let's see, justify the set of money spent on it. First, let's check if there is a controller in these batteries, which will not damage our battery with recharges. Disconnect the battery from charging, and again let's connect the charge to the charged battery, and see if it stops charging. And then the bulb stopped flashing after about 50 seconds, after a reactivation. This indicates that we can at any stage of the discharge, put this lithium-ion battery on charge. This is exactly it will not hurt. The first in our test will be the jigsaw, to which we will cut wood and metal. To test it was fair, I took absolutely new jigsaw blades. We will cut the wooden plank 100 by 20 millimeters and the wooden lining. My jigsaw blades for the lining is certainly rude, but for a general idea of her work will come down. And finally, our first battery run down. Now let's count what we got. Before counting, the attachment temperature is measured, and in different places it is different. The maximum is 63 degrees. So all we have got 112 cuts, of which 29 on the wooden plank, 100 on 20 millimeters, and 83 cuts on the wooden lining. If you imagine that we have a wooden lining of 2 meters long, that we could cut the wooden lining into 12 square meters, and there will also be a stock for cutting the plinth. I think this is a good result, given the small battery capacity. Now we will cut the metal tube 40 by 20 millimeters, wall thickness 2 millimeters. Change the battery and install a new jigsaw blade for metal. By the way, it's very easy to spin a gear that uses the entire mechanism of this attachment. Now we hold the metal tube in a vise. And let's begin. The first cut I do on dry, we'll see the result. Well, as you can see, everything is fine. I wonder how many metal tube can be cut into one battery? Let's continue. So we got 7 metal tube cuts 40 by 20 millimeters, tube wall thickness of 2 millimeters. The jigsaw blade was slightly erased, but I did not feel it when I worked. But the attachment has heated up already, right up to 73 degrees. Quite a bit, although the drive itself was heated to 29 degrees. I wipe off the attachment from the lubricant and put the batteries on charge. Now, when the batteries are charged and ready for battle, we take the oscillating tool attachment and we'll cut holes in the laminate. And let's start. So we got 11.5 such laminated cakes. The temperature of the drive is 36, and the attachment is 58 degrees. With this attachment, as I understand it, the load goes more to the drive than to the attachment itself. Now let's take an attachment router. For me, is it very intriguing all this time. The fact is that in this attachment router bits fit, only with a diameter of 6.35 millimeters. Looking closely at these router bits on Amazon, I saw that this is an ordinary China, and I decided to look for an AliExpress and found them there for only $19, while on Amazon they are sold even for $44.
What?
We insert clamp the router bit and milling. I will use different router bits to see what each of them is capable of. Well, we milled about 7 running meter, and made about 30 hole in wood. In general, honestly, I did not even think that this attachment will work so long. Just do not pay attention to my curve cuts, This was done solely for informational purposes. We measure the temperature of the attachment, and the maximum is 64 degrees. Now it's time to test the impact driver. For this not a simple test, I prepared 2 batteries at once, and we will screw these bolts into the end of the beam so that the entire bolt is in the tree. Well, let's start. We screw 7 bolts with wood carving, 8 millimeters in diameter, 3 of them will be 13 centimeters long and 4 pieces long for 16.5 centimeters. Another bolt, a diameter of 10 millimeters and a length of 13 centimeters. I'll tell you this, when twisting, there is no feeling that this tool is hard to work with. And I want to say, it is very easy to screwing. After screwing and unscrewing all the bolts, the charge in the battery still remains. Let's change the bit and tighten the metal screws 25 millimeters long into the metal tube 40 by 20 millimeters. The tube wall thickness is 2 millimeters. Well, here is our battery discharged on the 7th screw. Let's change the battery and we will only screwing such screws. As you can see, there's nowhere to turn. Now we'll screwing it between bolts. Let's see how to handle this tool with this task, given that the screws on the other hand will create an additional load when screwing. But as you can see, this impact driver does not experience any difficulties, and it is very easy to screwing again. So how many screws did we screw on one battery? So we were screwed to my surprise 99 screws, the attachment temperature after 2 tests of 52 degrees, and by the way the state of bit deteriorated not by a lot. I bought these bits on the Amazon, for only $5, 30 pieces, without even hoping for their good quality. But I want to say that they made me very happy with their quality. You need to find the link in the description. Now it's time for the mouse detail sander. To work with this attachment, I prepared a 3-meter wooden lining and sandpaper marked P100. The spare emery that I was using in the kit, I used, so for the review I cut out around emery, with holes, but I think it's not critical. Well, let's start. In general, I polished, and the battery was still not discharged and was not discharged. The wooden lining is almost as new. Let's take a wooden plank of my decor items that I need to clean, and try to defuse the battery on it. And again I brought the plank to the correct condition, but the battery was not discharged. Now I'll take a metal tube, I think it's exactly on the battery. Well, it happened, otherwise I was thinking of going to polishing the car. And now it's time to test the pump attachment, which, as I said, I bought separately from this kit. See how the manufacturer came up with the idea to compactly hide the attachments for balls and mattresses. Now we'll see how many wheels can be pumped, size 205 to 55, R16. Well, let's start. I completely remove air from the wheel, now I connect the pump, and here's one more thing. During the pumping process I added a piece of wire to this kit so as not to hold the button. So, in order to pump up the wheel to 2 atmospheres, it took us about 3.5 minutes, and the battery was not discharged. So how many wheels can I pump? Let's again remove the air from the wheel and pump it up. Well, again the wheel is pumped up to 2 atmospheres, on one battery. Let's once again remove the air and inflate the wheel. Finally, the third time our battery was discharged, the wheel was pumped up to 1 atmosphere. All these actions, without removing the air, took about 9 minutes. The attachment temperature was about 60 degrees, but at the same time it was 32.5 degrees on the street. That is, the attachment has heated up relatively little. Another attachment that I bought separately was a circular saw. Now let's see how many cuts on a wooden boarding she can do on one battery. Well, let's start. Well, Our 3-meter wooden lining is over. We cut the wooden plank 100 to 20 millimeters. If the battery is not discharged, we'll take another wooden lining. Well, finally we discharged the battery, but still in a couple of seconds, there is an opportunity to finish what was started. Total, with the help of this attachment, we managed to cut 260 wood linings and 36 wood planks. Now let's look at the whole result of our test, draw conclusions, and evaluate the entire set as a whole. You know, I want to say that before assessing, you need to define the concept of home tool, because everything depends on how we define this concept and how often we will use the tool. Let's look at the result and evaluate it on a 5-point scale. First, I would give him the cost of the set 4 points. Second, for compactness I give 100% 5 points. Third, battery life 4 points. Fourth, for the presence of one battery, I will give him not more than 3 points, but I understand that this would affect the total cost of the entire set, and someone may have one battery, so this is my subjective opinion. Fifth, 4 hours of battery charging deserves with a stretch of 3 points. Sixth, mobility 5 points. Seventh, convenience and work 4 points. And finally, for power you can give 4 points. Total on average, this set received its 4 points. I think it's deserved. In this test, we saw how all the attachments, the matrix set, work. You know, I liked it. I got even a little more from this set than I expected. The only thing that really upset me is the battery charging time, but this thing is fixable. My new fast charging is already somewhere along the way, and I hope she will please me with her 45-minute charge. This set does not pretend to be a professional tool, but it will be more than enough to work around the house. But if you have your own evaluation of this tool, put it in the comments. Well, I did a successful test of the matrix set, and if you liked this video, subscribe to the channel, and tell your friends about it. I appreciate your support and thanks for watching.